the old system doesn't want to give up power, and of course, it's fighting a new system. And so we see this all over the place. We are talking about how they're trying to say that Bitcoin is used for illicit transactions, but really it's the banking system that's used for illicit transactions, knowingly and willingly enabling organized crime and fraud. And these banks have paid out big fines. As a matter of fact, Bank of America has paid out since the great financial crash. Bank of America has paid out $76 billion. $76 billion in fines. $76 billion. JP Morgan's $43 billion in fines. I mean, that's just insane. Now, actually, this is an old article, so it's probably paid out even way more since then, but it goes even deeper than this. There's an article that just broke this week. Bitcoin Bank Custodia sues the Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of the United States. They sue the Federal Reserve, demanding decision on a master account. So all the banks of the world have to have a charter with the Federal Reserve. So I was at a conference in the beginning of this year in January, and I was on a panel with one of the leading, Professor Richard Werner, one of the leading voices talking about central banks. And he was saying how there's a big problem of all this centralization of banks, and what we need is we need to keep the banks decentralized, which of course I agree with. And I said, great, so how do we achieve that? I asked him that question. And he said, well, easy, just more people need to go open up banks. If only it was that easy. And this is a story to tell you that it's not that easy, because you have to get permission from the Federal Reserve to open a bank. And that's exactly what's happening. So we see Bitcoin Bank Custodia today sued the Federal Reserve Board of Governors and the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City, charging they have unlawfully broken the law. They're saying they broke the law, unlawfully delayed for 19 months acting on its application for a master account with the Federal Reserve. So the bank has filed all the paperwork, they've done everything proper, and they're supposed to get a response from the Federal Reserve about their application for this master account to have a bank. And they're charging that they've been unlawfully delayed for 19 months. The bank, Custodia, is chartered in Wyoming under a crypto-friendly statute passed in 2019, allowing for, quote, special purpose depository institutions. And they say the master account would reduce its costs, and it's vital to its core mission of providing a bridge between digital assets and the U.S. dollar. Now, according to the suit, the Federal Reserve has a legal obligation to act within a year, and states on its own paperwork that it ordinarily takes just 5 to 7 days to act on a master account application. So it says, in their own words, it typically takes a couple days. But legally, they have an obligation to act within a year, but they've been sitting on this for over 19 months. That's a big problem. So this old system does not want to go willingly, and they are going to continue to throw up roadblocks every chance they get. But of course, Custodia is not going to sit back and take this. So they filed a lawsuit. They allege that the Kansas City's Fed processing of its application was moving along until the spring of 2021, when the Maine Federal Reserve got involved. So the Kansas City Fed was actually processing it. Things were going along good. But then the Maine Federal Reserve got involved, and then something happened. What was that? Well, the suit seeks to force the Federal Reserve and the Kansas City branch to act on its application and ultimately to approve it. Should Custodia win, which I'm rooting for them, I think you are too, right? We're all rooting for them against the small guy, against the big guy, United States. We love the underdog. We love the David and Goliath story here. And ultimately, we want to stick it to the central banks. Should Custodia win its suit or otherwise be granted a master account, it would be the first Bitcoin bank to gain one. Custodia Bank was founded by Morgan Stanley veteran Caitlin Long in 2020 under the name Avante Financial Group. And she is a beast. She came onto the Bitcoin scene. She's been in the financial space for a really long time. Really started talking about something that really brought it front and center, at least to me and a lot of other people, which was something called rehypothecation. It's something that these financial institutions do. And so, what is rehypothecation? So, what does that mean? Is that let me make it simple. If I had a candy bar and I gave it to this person, now he would give me an IOU that he owed me that candy bar. So he's got one candy bar. I have an IOU that I'm owed a candy bar. But let's say that now he gives that candy bar to person number 2 and gets an IOU. So now there's still one candy bar, But now one person has a candy bar, and then there's an IOU for person one, and I have an IOU. So now there's basically 3 candy bars, but really only 1 candy bar. And then person number 2 gives it to person number 3, and then gives it to person number 4, person number 5, person number 6. So now person number 6 has the candy bar, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and myself only have an IOU. That means there's 7 candy bars in the system, but there's only 1 physical candy bar. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, all of us think we're wealthy. All of us think we have a candy bar. The reality is there's only 1 candy bar. Now, what happens if person number 6 eats that candy bar? Well, now 7 candy bars disappear. 7 candy bars are gone because 1 person ate a candy bar. That's rehypothecation. That's a big problem. It sounds like a problem, doesn't it? That's what they do with your financial assets. And so you put your money in the bank, and then they give it to someone else, or your stock in your account. You don't own that stock. What you have is an IOU. And then that's rehypothecated to the next person, to the next person, the next person, the next person. And so these assets grow exponentially through this debt process. The problem is the system gets over-levered. So we don't really know exactly. It's rumored to have about somewhere between 3 to maybe up to 500 paper ounces of gold, claims on an ounce of gold, for every 1 real physical ounce. So a lot of people, maybe 500 people or 499, think they own an ounce of gold, but they don't because there's really only 1. That's a big problem. So that's rehypothecation. She kind of had really brought that front and center to me, and it's a big problem in the system. Custodia's 44-page suit lists 8 claims for relief. So there's 8 different ways that they would like to have relief here, or ways the Fed could potentially resolve the case. The first claim raises a broader issue regarding the functioning of the individual Federal Reserve banks and whether they are subject to rules for federal agencies. So what I love about this is it's taking it to the entire Federal Reserve banking system and changing the way it works. Everybody's watching to see what's going to happen. Of course, the Kansas City branch of the Federal Reserve declined to comment. They don't even want to know anything about it, and they just don't really want to get involved. But kudos to Caitlin for taking this fight to them. I wouldn't want to be on the other side of it. And now this is coming from Wyoming, which is interesting because at the same time we saw Senator Cynthia Lummis from Wyoming submit a bill just this week into the Senate for more clarity on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which was pretty cool. So she introduced this bill that basically would put some things into law that would prohibit the government from encroaching on this. One of them would be to repeal some of the taxes that are levied against it. So she had a bill that would take away capital gains tax up to $200, and that'd really help us get to a point where we could spend Bitcoin more as a medium of exchange without having to pay tax and everything. So if you wanted to use it to get a cup of coffee, I think I talked about last week, you can go to Chipotle now and you could spend your Bitcoin, but you don't want to do that because that's a taxable event. But if they could get reduced below $200 threshold, you can go to Chipotle, you can buy your coffee, you can buy a burger, things like that. And so we'll see. Wyoming is kind of at the forefront of this freedom movement, freedom to transact. Without the freedom to transact, there is no freedom at all. And so they're pioneering this ability to transact with whatever currency we want and to store our wealth in whatever they want at the same time. So let's go, Caitlin, and let's go Cynthia Lummis and Wyoming with that.